This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Steve Simcox, and you're like, what is Steven Simcox doing here on a Thursday? Well, yesterday he was just a little punky, little under the weather, little had the crud.
Yeah, I'm in that weird stage of illness where I don't feel bad enough to really slow down.
Yeah.
But it's still slowing me down.
Yeah. I had that Monday I was in a fog until about noon.
Yeah. And as you know, this week is always insane.
Yeah.
For everybody. So I feel like I've just been running around. I haven't been sleeping great. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's, I do a ton of work for high school football until
it starts
today. And then now as
you out,
I'm kind of like a consultant. That's
you
what
are
I am.
Consultant.
Is
yes.
that what you would call me? That I'm a high school football consultant at this point.
You should ask for those college football consultant salaries.
Look, I'm telling you, Smokey and I have talked about this. We really need to just stop talking about it and be about it and just set up a consulting firm and then go to media market places and go hey, this is how you do this. And I think we do well.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love to be able to just get paid a couple grand to show up at a place and stay at a Hilton Garden Inn and then, go in and tell them hey, here's what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, just roll into Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
With a legal pad and be listen, guys, that's what we need to do.
Well, yeah. We get a young intern named Devin, and he's in charge of the PowerPoints. And Devin's got a PowerPoint here. He worked it up, and then it makes us look cool.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got to have glasses. He's got to be really thin. I have to I have a look for him.
Kind of Silicon Valley-esque.
Yeah. Devin, Devin can answer all your technical questions. Mm-hmm. He'll go hang out with the engineer, all those things, and then we can just be all right, where's our money? Devin's got to eat.
An invoice, yeah.
Devin's got to eat,
I need a check now. I need per diem.
Yeah. I would love being a consultant, and I know for a lot of them it's not hard work, but it's easier than having to answer to the man all the time, mm-hmm. Which I got to tell you, I don't really do anyway.
Nope.
I have bosses. They're all very nice. I've never once felt like any one of them has that, overlord feeling. So,
yeah, it seems like a great job. Sonny Dykes has set up his kind of own school this year for coaches who didn't coach good and want to learn how to be nice to their players again.
Yeah.
And so Dana Holgerson's there. He had a press conference. He looked like he was living the dream.
Yeah.
Just drinking Red Bulls, showing practice once or twice a week.
Yeah. I'm surprised I saw some of that. I'm surprised that, like, he didn't like have somebody like bring him a sub, and he was like, no, you guys go on. I'm just gonna eat while we talk.
Yeah, I can still answer questions.
I'm like,
what do you want to know?
Oh, meatball, great. This is great. I love this place down the street. Never knew about it when I was coaching other places.
Yep. I've been there like 4 times this week.
Yeah. I could see that. Like Todd Graham. Here's the thing about Todd Graham. Todd Graham is like a strategist and like everything else. He's fantastic at that.
Yeah.
His interpersonal stuff is what ultimately got him. And ultimately, especially now, like, I think there's a generation of coaches in transition right now, and Nick Saban had to transition out of it. A lot of people do, and you can still be a hard ass, but you can't be a hard ass like Bear Bryant was a hard ass.
Yeah.
And I think so many of them grew up in that. Like, look, I had coaches like on either side of the spectrum when I was in high school. I'm sure you did too, where you've got one guy who's just like,
wearing you out all the time.
Yeah, he just eats plain oatmeal every day, and like when he's jacked, and like when you're in the weight room and you're like trying to bench 150 pounds, he's just over there like picking up the bar like this to spot you with one hand, and not at all friendly, but kind of has a cool past,
right?
That guy, but he's grizzled. And then you've got like the other coaches like, listen, man, like we just want the most out of you, and you're like, you know what, I'll do that for you because I am scared as hell of this guy. I will make sure I work as hard as I can because he scares me and you believe in me.
Yes.
And now I don't think that dynamic works the same anymore. I think that, it's still there, but I don't think that you can be to the extreme anymore.
Well, and the other thing is, if you're going to be tough, demanding guy, like, you got to win.
Yeah.
At the first sign of like, this isn't working, everybody's going to be like, okay.
Well, I think
I
think Gary Patterson found that out the hard way.
Yeah.
In that, like, he did not adapt, and then he got paranoid about a lot of things, and because he was like, Coach QAnon for a while, like, oh yeah, you know what happened? SMU planned this. SMU went after Jerry Kill because they don't like people who have chronic illnesses, and those snobby people from Dallas just took him out. And then, like, well, the video shows that like your own players kind of knocked him down, rushing out to kind of get in the scrum.
No, you're not getting it. Open your eyes, guys.
He's like, oh yeah? Well, what about Antifa? Antifa's well known to dress up as TCU football players.
Come into your neighborhoods.
Yeah. So, like, when that stuff happened, like, you just can't be that anymore. Mm-hmm. It's a generational thing, and it changes. Like, I don't think you're ever going to see the disappearance of hard-ass coaches.
No.
But I do think that Dana Holgerson, who at his best is not really that way, but he got pretty jaded. Mm-hmm. If you watch some of those press conferences last year, we've talked to Dana Holgerson a bunch of times, and he's never was like that. And then you watch a press conference and you're like, I don't know, like, what's going on here, but homeboy's angry. Mm-hmm. Like, he's angry, blaming a loss completely on the players, which, look, it might have been completely on the players. We don't know. But
you can't do that as head coach. Like, that's just
absolutely not. You gotta you
got to take the responsibility.
You can't tell the world
yes
it was their fault. You can tell them it was. Like, there's a way to do it. Be like, look, guys, I'm going to tell you. Everybody blew assignments tonight. You weren't listening to us. Like, there's bad communication. We lost that game because you guys did not prepare the right way. Mm-hmm. I'll take my share of the responsibility, but I'm going to tell you, this coaching staff was really working their ass off tonight, and you didn't. But as opposed to, like, just being in your feelings and going to a press conference, go, what? Our players are terrible. You're like, oh, great, thanks.
Put that headline out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to disguise it. Or just keep it in-house, I guess.
Like, the next commercial that comes up is like, 1-800-TRANSFER PORTAL. Did your coach just say you sucked? 1-800-TRANSFER PORTAL will get you in the portal. Right. To a coach who loves and appreciates everything you do. But, Dana Holgerson, not like that. Now, Todd Graham, he's going to have to, really, if he wants to be a coordinator or a coach again, he's got to adjust his approach. Mm-hmm. The one, and this is a pro coach, but the person I saw do it the most, and he wound up winning him 2 Super Bowls, was Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin used to be one of those guys who kind of came across at me as like, if a guy came in wearing like a paisley shirt, he'd be like, we don't do that here. All right.
What was this thing?
There are 4 shirt colors. There's navy, there's gray, there's white, and there's black.
They had to be there like 15 minutes early for meetings or something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that was Lombardi time was early on time is late don't even show up. But yeah, they had to be there, early, for meetings. But see, the thing is, I think he realized this, like if you tell them that, then that's the time the meeting starts. So then they're not really early, they're on time. So like you can't tell them, you can tell them early is on time is late don't even show up. But then you can't like tell them you have to be here 15 minutes early or you're late, because you're kind of going at your own thing. Mm-hmm. It's something you have to learn on your own.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to let them fail to learn that lesson. Like, okay, everybody else was here 15 minutes early. They get the gist.
I'm missing out. Yeah.
You don't. Like that's the thing. But like when you tell them and like, okay, well, we'll be here 15 minutes early. Well, then it just keeps moving up, because eventually he's going to go, oh, everybody's here. We're going to start the meeting 15 minutes early. And then all of a sudden you've created a situation. Now you're going to make people late because they're going to show up 15 minutes early and you're starting the meeting then. So the meeting doesn't start at 10:30. It starts at 10:15. Then it starts at 10. Then it starts at 9:45. And then you're, 6 a.m. because you keep trying to like teach them how to be early.
Adjust it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like table manners. Like you can tell people to do it, but until they like see themselves like picking up their baked potato and eating it with their hand, maybe they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know the best way to go about it.
Yeah. But Steven, it's week 1.
It is.
We have moved past week 0. We have completely moved past week 0.
Do those games count?
I mean, it's week 0, so it really shouldn't, right? 0 doesn't count. Here's the thing. There's an unknown rule that in week 0 in a foreign country, nothing that happens
matters.
Yeah, it's not punishable by law. Mm-hmm. So it's like the purge. It's just
like the purge.
Yeah, no, nothing matters. But it's a really like there are not. It's funny. I think this is ultimately going to change in college football. I think week 0 will be everybody's. Like it's not going to be 4 games, and there'll be an Ireland game, and there'll be like a couple other cool games. But that will be the week, August 24th of every year or whatever it is, where everybody plays their FCS opponent, say, for like a couple of, like one really great 11 o'clock game, one really great 3 o'clock game, one really great primetime game. Those will be that. So that everybody can still get their guarantee game in, get loose and go, and then roll out. But for week 1, that's how week 1 kind of is right now. Because if you look at the schedule, a lot of duds.
Yeah.
A lot of duds.
A lot of insert FCS team here.
Yeah. And, I understand that the FCS teams need this money. If we could figure out a way to separate that out, I would rather not see FCS teams and FBS teams play ever. Like the only way you should be allowed to is if you were in the playoff a year ago.
Or treat it like a scrimmage.
Yeah, treat it like
that's my thing.
Treat it like a scrimmage.
You can put it on TV still. Like people can still watch on ESPN Plus or whatever.
Just replace the spring game because those are going by the wayside. Nobody's going to do a traditional spring game anymore.
Yeah. They're going to do OT. Like if you did OTAs and then a fall scrimmage, I'd be like, all right, there we go. Put it on. Do that. High school teams do it all the time. 2 weeks into practice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They go to a scrimmage and play against another team and
do some situational football stuff.
Yeah, and then everybody gets some TV money and everybody would be happy.
You could even make it an NIL game or something if you wanted.
Yeah, help everybody else. Like everybody's going to get paid here.
Yeah,
like that's what I would do, and make that your preseason kind of a thing that people can watch and go to, and make it a cool. That way, it can be maybe a more fun trip for the FCS team. Like, hey, we're going to play Kansas State. All right, well now it's more fun because there's no stakes here. We can go practice. You guys can enjoy doing it. You're going to be on TV. You're going to be, getting a showcase. Maybe some of you can play for a team like Kansas State. Like those kind of things. So I think that they need to fix that. But outside of that, like you've got Clemson and Georgia this week. You got A&M and Notre Dame. You got West Virginia and Penn State, Miami and Florida. And I think those are the 4 biggest ones, right? I'm going to leave anybody out.
I mean, LSU, USC kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but
yeah, LSU, USC, and the rest. Like, there's some interesting ones. TCU and Stanford is interesting as far as brand names go,
right?
But
not great teams.
Yeah, if Stanford has been better over the years recently, maybe we'd feel different about that game. Now, let me ask you about that one first, Stephen. Do you have a foreboding sense of what if the boredom catches on the sideline? Because Stanford currently is one of the most boring places to play in the country. I mean, it's like teams can go in there and then maybe catch a malaise because it's going to be half full if that. It's a Friday night. They're the only game, right? I think they're
I think so. I mean,
the only
one
game,
in that window.
Yeah, only one in that window. Yeah, and they're late. It's late. All these things. I see no scenario in which they lose here, but I do see a scenario where they go out there and look a little streaky.
I think it's a concern. I mean, one of my big questions is Sonny's talked a lot this offseason about how they have a better mentality. So this is really a bring your own energy type of game. I mean, I don't expect a raucous environment at the farm. I'm not even sure Stanford started classes yet. Somebody told me that the other day. They kind of have a different schedule. So I don't foresee a lot of students there. And, yeah, you're going to have to bring your own motivation. But I just feel like if this TCU team is good and focused, then they should handle it pretty well. They have a lot of motivation coming off a disappointing year, but that is a problem. And, I mean, it's one of those things Stanford's got a ton of returning production. So they were 3-9 last year. I guess you can spin that a couple different ways. You can say, well, hey, those guys aren't talented and good, but you can also think maybe in year 2 of Troy Taylor they take a step forward. But line's 9.5. I mean, I think it does feel like a game where maybe it's close in the first half. There's kind of a feeling out process, but then in the second half, TCU should pull away if their athletes do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll have a fun atmosphere, a fun game. I mean, a fun atmosphere, a fun game. They can do some things, but I do worry about you get there and it's the whole area, the whole campus is oh, is there a football game today? I'm sorry, I was trying to cure cancer.
Yeah, just doing some research on a Friday night.
Yeah, is there a football game? I'm sorry, I was inventing the next Google, so don't bother me.
I'm trying to get grant money. I'm not trying to watch TCU Stanford.
You guys don't care about climate change? I guess I do. So
we're doing a sit-in in the dining hall during that time. Sorry.
Hey, you guys want to go to the football game? I hear the hot dogs are half price. Of course. Cal is no, we don't do that. Veggie dogs here at our stadium. If you would like a tofurkey dog, we have plenty of them.
We're also not big fans of football, but
we refuse to call it the pigskin. That is cruel and inhumane. Our balls are made of sustainable leaves that have been sewn together. Okay, here's another game I'm curious about. Steven, I asked for everybody's opinion on this yesterday, and it was really I didn't get any real direction. Garrett leaned in one way. The chat room was kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. How am I supposed to feel? We talked about it for a long time because
we did.
Andrew Baker asked me to go to the Texas and Florida game, which I don't think I can do just because Florida State and Notre Dame play that day. I really want to watch that game, and I think I'd just be mad the whole time, mm-hmm. and Andrew would be
he'd be poking
like a 6-year-old with a stick and a beehive, just be like, ha, ha, ha. Although here's the thing. I think he wants to do the social experiment where he'll see if he can annoy me so much that I'll cheer for the Gators. I think there's two things in his head.
Ooh.
He wants to see if I hate the Gators so much that I'll cheer for the Longhorns, or that he can annoy me so much that I can be like, damn right, Graham Mertz, which I can tell you, neither one of those things is possible.
You're chomping by the end of the game?
Yeah. Yeah. You guys ever heard of Javon Curse?
You're just yelling out to nobody Billy Napier's off the hot seat.
Yeah. Listen, me and my bro, Reedell Anthony, are coming for you. Just old Gators. For the spirit and love of Danny Werfel, Chris Doring, Fred Taylor. let's do this. No, neither one's going to happen. Neither one's going to happen. Somebody's going to clip that.
Yep.
And take it out of context.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's etched in history forever now.
Yeah. But how am I supposed to feel about, like, where is my rooting interest for this game? Because Florida State beating a better, like, given the fact that they're 0-1 now. Now, if they're 1-0, I would feel indifferent about it. It wouldn't matter. But now that they're 0-1 and style points are going to start to matter for them, and, it's going to be more of an uphill battle. They still control their own destiny completely, but there's, they've got a pimple right now. And so a pimple that's not going to go away.
Nope.
And a pimple that can't fade into oblivion because it was the only game that was on. So everybody's going to remember it.
Right.
And now they have to hope for Georgia Tech to be what it looks like they can be, but they have to be that consistent all year. Like, they need Georgia Tech to be at least 8-4 or 7-5. Like, they need Georgia Tech to be 8-4. So they're like, well, that's a team on the rise. But do I need Miami to be better because that's a conference game? Or do you need the Gators to be better because that's the last game of the year and it's going to get huge ratings anyway? It's the big rivalry game on Thanksgiving weekend, and you'll need the ACC beats the SEC points to make sure if you don't win the ACC championship game that your 2 losses, which would theoretically have to be at that point 10-2, like a 10-2 team in the ACC that beat Florida but lost to, say, like Miami, who they played twice. Like, do you need, like, where do I need that to be? I don't know. It's hard for me. I've never had a rooting interest in this game before, just because I'm like, oh, I hate you both so much. I root for fumbles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I need a whiteboard to really draw it up here.
And look, here's the thing. Florida State has pretty much told the ACC that they don't care about them right now. That, we're out here on our own. We're going to do this, like we're an ACC team in name only.
I think the conference implications still matter enough that Miami being good would be better for Florida State, especially just because I don't really feel like Florida, like, even if they win that game, I think they're probably going into that Florida State game like a 500 team.
Well, and you bring up a good point there. Okay, so if Florida beats Miami, that probably means Miami's not quite as good as everybody thinks they're going to be. But Florida could still just be exactly what we think they are.
Right.
And then Florida State has 2 games on their schedule all of a sudden, as opposed to 2 really, like, I would really love, and like, no one, like, I don't know why people don't believe me when I say these things, Garrett and Steven. I miss the 90s and early 2000s where all 3 were good, and I would love for all 3 to, like, I would love for it to be like everybody plays each other every year so that, like, those things can help swing the playoff.
Yeah.
I would love it. I think it's great. I would rather lose to a rival, honestly, and Ohio State fans don't agree with me in this. I would rather, and I'll ask you guys this. Would you rather lose to the big rival? Like, would you rather LSU lose to Alabama or Kentucky?
Oh, Bama.
Bama.
Yeah.
Would you rather TCU lose to Baylor or
SMU?
SMU.
Well, they never lose against Baylor.
They've had a good run. I would probably rather them. The SMU loss is just so embarrassing. Even it might change now that they're in the Power 4.
Yeah.
But like previously it was SMU because like losing to Baylor sucks, but it makes sense in that, they're kind of equal programs for the most part. Losing to SMU was always
okay.
Yeah.
For A&M, I'd much rather lose to Texas than I would to lose to South Carolina when I play.
Oh, hell yeah.
I would much rather lose that game because at least that one's like, that's the rivalry game. Florida State and Georgia Tech, like, that's on the second tier of Florida State, like, care about, like, historically. Yeah. I'm of the belief it needs to be, like, at the very top of that second tier because, again, it's been better than people realize over the years, even though Florida State had, like, a 19-game winning streak or something ridiculous in the middle of it. But maybe not that long, but, like, they won, like, 12 or 13 in a row, so it didn't feel like it, but most of them were close. I would rather lose to the rivals, even though, like, I would rather beat the rivals than anybody. Like, I'd rather beat the rivals and I'd rather lose to the rivals than any other way around. Like, if you have to trade off, like, if Florida State's not going to go to the playoff this year, okay, if they beat Clemson, Miami, and Florida, at least that'll make it better. But I do know that it'll sting that, like, they're not going to the playoff because they lost to Georgia Tech and NC State and Louisville or something. And I'm like, you know, like, and part of that was because of base as a fan in the 90s. Like, that's really all they lost to was, like, Florida State, like, Florida, Miami, or Notre Dame. Like, those are the teams that beat them. You know, one time Virginia jumped up and bit them. But, you know, one time NC State jumped up and bit them. But for the most part, they only lost to Florida and Miami.
Right.
Or the bowl game. Like, so that's not so bad. Like, I'll take those losses and then dominate your conference. But I think this is maybe what perspective gives me. But I don't know. I mean, Garrett agrees with me. You're a little confused. And maybe it's just because, like, TCU's been on such a ride in conferences. The rivalry games haven't swung except, like, TCU and Baylor, 61-58, kind of screwed them both.
Right. I mean, I definitely want to win rivalry games more. And if you have a rough season, like a couple of years ago when TCU went 5-7 and they beat Baylor in Fort Worth, that was awesome. Like, that season sucked, but that was an awesome Saturday.
Yeah.
And that kind of carried you for a lot of the year. So that's part of the fun of college football is those games should mean a lot, and hopefully they still do with the expanded playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, while we're talking about this, Garrett, let's bring it up. This is a segment we're going to call You're Not Helping. So, Garrett, throw up this stupid tweet from this idiot. This is from a Florida State fan on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw this yesterday.
Yeah. And, Steven, you sent this. You sent it, and it has it's gone, like, I was like, oh, man, I hope this is just something Steven stumbled across. It is absolutely not. This is from at 321 Noel. If Florida State loses to BC this weekend, I will eat dog shit out of a red Solo cup with a spoon and post a video of me doing it. Book it. Okay, look. I don't know if you got the vibes of last weekend where Georgia Tech beating Florida State was pornographic to teams that don't even care about Florida State historically. Do you know how much crap people talk to me that have never even played Florida State in any sport?
As you said, man, it's the only game on. Only game
it's the only game on.
Suddenly people are, like, locked in.
Because Florida State is in the villain role now. Like, they went very rapidly from, like, oh, man, that sucks. You got screwed. To, like, ha-ha, screw you. Because of the fans' general attitude towards the conference and how, you know, they are trying to shake up realignment when most college football fans don't want to see any more of it. So, like, I totally get it, and I respect your viewpoint on Florida State fans being jerks. Like, I get it. We're not the worst of the worst, but we're certainly not, like, friendly fans. And never have, like, none of the schools in Florida, the big three, are friendly fans. UCF's about to find that out. They're about to find that out. They're very friendly at UCF. Very friendly. Love them. But yeah, no, there's general looking down and disdain of other fan bases all over the place. I get that. And that's not unique to Florida, but, like, believe me, there's not a fan base in the three of us that's like, man, they were so polite. No, we're all different variations of rude.
Yeah.
That's how it is. That's the state of Florida. No one's polite. Ever. Ever. You're mad at an old lady for driving. That's what that's how it is. But this guy, and this is a Florida man thing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely is post this. You're not helping, buddy. Not helping.
I mean, I just need to know, like, nobody's asking you to do this.
No, I don't like
it's like you could say so many other things. You could just say, I think Florida State's going to beat Georgia Tech or beat BC. Book it. That would be fine.
Or I'll eat a really hot chicken wing.
Yeah, something like that.
You know?
This is like the guy at the tailgate who you don't know who suddenly is like, hey, you want to watch me put jumper cables on this car battery and then hook the other side to my nipples? And you're like, well, I guess if you want to do that. I mean, nobody's really, like, asking you to.
Yeah.
Nobody's challenging you.
Yeah.
But if that's what you're into, like, that's fine.
I mean, look, we're not here to judge. But
I'll stand over here.
But yeah.
So I remember a few years ago, it might have been after that Super Bowl where the Patriots came back against the Falcons. There was like a Falcons fan who said they were going to eat their hat if like the Falcons lost a game.
Yeah.
And they like stuck to it. And so they cooked their hat. I don't know how they
I guess
sauteed it. Yeah, I don't know if they
whatever,
boiled it or what. And they tried to eat it. And this dude's like throwing up on a live stream. Because, you know,
you can't eat string.
you can't eat snapbacks. That's not like a thing that people do. If you could, Garrett would be sustainable
it'd be
for
bad.
years. If that was food and the apocalypse came through, we'd all go to Garrett's house.
Yo.
But you can't.
Oh, we have a lovely Washington Nationals cap today.
We've cooked it 3 different ways. And we're putting it on every place. So I don't know. But I plead to this person, an old 3-2-1, nobody's going to force you to do this, man.
Yeah.
So just, even if they lose Saturday,
Don't
maybe,
do it.
maybe just delete your Twitter account.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just move on with your life.
Yeah, that's it. Stop liking sports.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, this is not.
Nobody needs a 2 Knowles, 1 cup reenactment.
No, absolutely not.
Hell no.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So, yeah. Please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, please, it's okay. It's all right, brother.
No.
I think Florida State's going to win,
Yeah.
but that's a lot of pressure you put on yourself
But
for
also,
no reason.
guess what? Florida State for the second week in a row, only game on Monday night. You know, so look, I'm all about getting the brand out there, but guys, like when we're the only game on, we need to win.
Yeah, you got to bring your A game.
Like, I don't know if Mike Norvell's brought that up to them. I'll bring it up. Like, have me in for the next time they do this. They got it the last 2 years against LSU. Guys, we're the only game on.
That is a thing that we should do. Like, it'd probably end up just being boosters and it'd be weird, but they should let fans go talk to the players at halftime.
Yeah.
And just be like, do you understand that you're embarrassing me?
Yeah.
I know you think this is just your reputation at stake, but it's not.
DJ, come here. I'm going to talk to you privately. All the rest of you guys can leave. You and me are going to sit down and have a talk, man to man. This ends today. All right?
We're drawing the line in the sand, brother.
Okay? Listen, I support you. I support you. We have trust, okay? But only one of us is doing our part of the bargain here.
Yeah. Do you understand the amount of subscribers I have on my YouTube channel?
Yeah, look, you are causing me a lot of pain. I will say the 2 people I'm maddest at this football season are Rick Ross. For I think Rick Ross was the clincher for Miami, and Cam Ward, because I think that's what's going to swing Florida State this year a little bit if it doesn't go right, and then of course Urban Meyer and Fox for having the nerve to steal the name of this podcast. I am not happy about it. I'm not happy about it at all. I'm not happy that we have something in common. I'm not happy that he stole that. And I'm also not happy with the prospect of having to like discuss this with legal people and then have them tell me like, well, Paul, here's the thing. You're Paul and they're Fox.
Nah,
so like,
let's take him to court.
I mean, I need Gloria Allred or something. Like,
Get Bob Thompson.
Emory needs to draft up a cease and desist.
yeah.
That thing that you can do? I don't know.
Yeah. Stop. Like, you know,
How long were you in law school?
me?
Yeah.
0 days.
Okay.
Never went to law school.
Okay. I thought you did.
No. That would have been something that Pete Catalina would have made me finish come hell or high water. I'll tell you that right now. Dad, I don't know if I want to be a lawyer. Well, you don't have to be a lawyer, but you have to finish law school. You've started, you finish. I mean, I really don't like it. Yeah, well, you didn't like broccoli either, and I made you eat that until you did. So, all right. Did you love piano lessons? No, but we went through it and we finished, okay? We start something, we finish. I know that. I know that lesson. So that's why when they made the pitch to me to go to law school, I was like, look, I don't want to get halfway through this and be miserable. It seems like a lot of paperwork, which it is. So no. But I have plenty of friends in law school, and I used to go like, I picked up some law school by osmosis because I was the friend who was like a comedian and like I worked, I was broke as hell, but like, if they called up and like, hey, come to Orlando this weekend. And be like, yeah, let's go do something reckless. Like I was the guy who's like, hell yeah, let's go. And so they could be like, yeah, we don't have to talk about torts for a whole 3 days, you know. But then you can't help but talk about things. So anyway.
That conversation reminds me, I saw a tweet today from Greg Tepper, who covers Texas high school football. And he said that he was taking his son to school and he was wearing his Army football shirt. And like a crossing guard stopped him to thank him for his service. And he had to explain to him that he just really likes the triple option.
Well, there we go. Yeah, there you go. Maybe listen, I need to get as many people on here behind me like Greg Tepper.
Yes.
I mean, I know Greg. We're cordial.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. So, all right, I'm going to ask you rapid fire, Steven. Clemson, Georgia, how do you think that game goes?
I think Georgia wins by a couple touchdowns. I just don't feel like Clemson has the juice.
Yeah. Okay. Penn State, West Virginia.
I'm going Penn State. I think it'll be a close ball game in Morgantown, but I think Penn State has enough to get it done.
Oh, ye of little faith. Go Nears. Picking West Virginia straight up and down.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Miami and Florida at the Swamp.
Miami.
Okay. Garrett, did you pick Florida?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Only for the Swamp. I hate the Gators.
Yeah. I can't remember who I picked. It was a couple days ago. And finally, Notre Dame and A&M.
Give me Notre Dame. I just feel like that's a lot to ask in, game one of the Mike Elko tenure to pull that off. But Kyle Field, man, should be a great atmosphere. Should be fun.
Yeah. LSU and USC.
I saw a stat. I think this is right. LSU hasn't won a season opener since like 2019. Give me the Tigers.
Yeah.
I think the shine is worn off Lincoln Riley and company.
I hope.
Breaking a new QB. I feel like LSU wins.
All right. The next segment will be the wheel. Unfortunately, the wheel is we've not gotten the replacement part yet. I'm in a bit of a haggling situation there.
Okay.
I would like to not pay for it. I'd like to
That's fair.
send it to me. We don't have to point blame as to who broke what. I can just say that, like, maybe the tensile strength of this thing is not what you would report it. So we had an incident with the wheel last week. It broke. The clapper, the clicker.
These things happen, yeah.
It happened. So I'm trying to get a new clicker thing, and I'm trying to not pay for it. Maybe it's only like $6, but it's the principle.
Principle, yeah.
The principle of the thing. But, Steven, we're going to grade 1 to 10.
On the watchability
of games this week. Okay.
Yes.
All right. There's some good ones and bad ones, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to rank them 1 to 10, or I'm going to give them
you're just going to give them like a score.
A score. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's coming up next. This is the triple option, the one true triple option on 365 Sports.
Praise the Lord.
Fantasy Sports EVO, the next evolution of daily fantasy sports. Tired of traditional fantasy sports where you spend hours upon hours studying individual players? EVO's unique team-based platform makes it easier than ever for all sports fans to play. No need to know individual players. Just choose your contest, select your teams, and enjoy the game. Whether you access our website from a desktop, mobile device, or the app, the experience is the same. EVO is for all sports fans. Join Fantasy Sports EVO and experience the evolution.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. Paul Catalina and Steven Simcox here on the Triple Option. That's right. Garrett Ross producing. Jack McKenzie is taking Thursdays and Fridays off through the football season and is going to work on Saturdays and Sundays. So
Good for Jack.
Yeah. He would like us to incentivize him to come in on Fridays, which I
Yes.
think means free food. So,
I mean, if he brings the PlayStation,
yeah.
I might compromise.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see about that. All right, Steven has here on the Wednesday wheel on Thursday. Special edition. You know, like this is like sweeps. You remember like how they used to do sweeps where like, oh my God, Cheers is on Tuesday and Thursday this week.
Yep. Putting a bomb in somebody's stomach on Grey's Anatomy this time because really need those views.
You know, like medical shows run too long and you start to run out of like actual
zany
realistic
situations.
like, but you run out of like realistic things.
Yes.
So then you have to like go deep into. There's a bomb in somebody's stomach, or Brazilian penis fish, or whatever.
It's still on the air. I don't know. Like, my wife has started watching it again on Netflix recently. So I just come home and it's just on, And I'm like, is this still on the air? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, how are they still doing this?
Yeah. Why? I mean, like, don't they want to like move on?
You would think.
Have a be the C star in an indie flick, and I don't know. I mean, I get a steady paycheck in the acting world. It's probably a good thing. So,
yeah, I mean, syndication, all that, but
yeah. But like, I listened to an interview with Zach Braff the other day. He was on Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum.
Oh, I love that podcast.
Yeah, and he was talking about it, and they were asking him about like when you ended Scrubs. Like, he's like, well, you just kind of got like, we're repeating jokes, and we're like, so we needed some time away from it. I just don't know how. And of course, the cast has changed so much on Grey's Anatomy, but like, even still, that you'd be like, what's this guy got? And like, he got his foot caught in a lizard's mouth. And you're like, I mean, whatever. Like,
okay.
All right. And then these two doctors can be banging.
Yeah.
Like, while
this intern's got to stand next to the surgeon who she slept with the night before, and he didn't acknowledge her in the elevator, so now it's just weird.
Yeah, and then they've got to get this guy's foot out of the Komodo dragon's mouth, and,
It all comes.
Why that's happening in Seattle, no idea. Not a place wrought with Komodo dragons.
No, not last time I checked.
So, all right, let's get into it.
All right, we'll start
Watchability
with
index.
Yeah, watchability index. We'll start with Thursday night slate. North Dakota State and Colorado.
This is going to be about a 7 to me. Okay. I think it's 7. It's very cute. Like, we're going to see. I think this is a good team for them to start out against because North Dakota State's going to be very fundamentally sound.
Physical,
and
yeah.
Fundamentals were the problem for Colorado last year. I'm sure, Steven, you've seen the baseball classic Bull Durham.
Huh? Yeah.
They have the scene in the shower where he's like, "This is an easy game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. Like, that's it." And if I gave that same speech to Colorado last year, I'd be like, "This is an easy game. You run the ball, you catch the ball, you block a guy, or you tackle a guy. That's it." And that'd have been like, hold on, those last two parts.
What's that? What was that about?
What's that about? So blocking and tackling, this is a good measure of, are you better at that? Or are the guys who are going to be charged up and very fundamentally sound from North Dakota State going to make some of your better athletes look stupid because your fundamentals are crap still? Mm-hmm. So that's what they have to get down. Like, they're very good at the, like, holy crap, look at this athlete.
Yes.
Plays. They're really good at that. They are on the other end of the spectrum last season on the this is what it takes to win games consistently thing. So,
yeah, I mean, I feel like this will be a fun ball game. I do wonder, it seems like one of those where the trendy upset pick has been out there for so long, has been picked up by everybody so much, that it kind of gives me the vibe that Colorado might just come out and handle their business.
Yeah,
but
which would be good for them.
Which is good for them. But the physicality of North Dakota State does give me pause because, they're going to bring the wood. And, like, that's what Colorado struggled with last year. After the first few weeks of the season when it was like, okay, we bracket Travis Hunter and, we get pressure on Shedeur Sanders, we can handle these guys.
Now, I do think that, I mean, they have weapons. Like, LaShawnte Wester, I'm telling you, everybody's going to talk about Shedeur and Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
LaShawnte Wester, I think he's going to be the real difference maker for them this year. He's a guy who's a chain mover.
G5 game tonight, Coastal Carolina and Jacksonville State.
Not a bad one, actually. Not a bad one. I'll give that one a 6.2. 6.2. You're not going to really know anybody in the game.
Yeah.
Grayson McCall's not at Coastal anymore. Rich Rodriguez at Jacksonville State, right?
He is.
Yeah. Rich Rodriguez, Jacksonville State, not a bad G5 team there. So should be a fun game to watch if you're kind of thumbing through and want to see something. If you're not interested, like, I'm gonna have to take a break for an hour and see who gets voted out on Big Brother, but
it's there, it's on, it's good background noise.
Yeah.
Okay, Friday night, TCU and Stanford. Watchability index, Paul.
5.
It's Probably fair.
Not because of TCU. TCU is like 4.8 out of the 5. Stanford just needs to go back to being like Stanford used to be. I used to never really miss their big games because they had great players like Andrew Luck and Toby Gerhardt and Christian McCaffrey. They had all these really great players that played for them. And then, David Shaw was one of my favorite coaches and all that. Loved all that. But, they've just, the modern era of college football has not been kind to Stanford.
No, it hasn't. I mean, to talk about how far they've fallen off the radar, like when I saw this matchup a few months ago, I'm thinking like, okay, Stanford, pro-style offense, like line it up, run the football. And then I watched some of their tape from last year. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not what they're doing anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they're spreading you out. They're trying to do.
Now, look, they have Eric Ayomanyor, who's really, really good. So, I mean, that raises, but, if you're going to watch, like, especially opening week of college football, that's when every stadium should be packed.
Right.
That's when I'm always amazed when, how bad a baseball team is going to be on opening day when, like here we are at the Cell here in Chicago, and plenty of seats still available if you can get down here, and there's no one there because they're like, this team's going to suck. Like you're not even optimistic in game one. That's how I feel like it's going to look at Stanford tonight.
Did you see that? Now, granted, it was a game one of a doubleheader that was a makeup from the day before. Yesterday afternoon, White Sox Rangers.
Oh yeah,
Evan Grant said he counted. There were 49 people in the stands.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah. In Chicago.
There's
49 people in an elevator right now there.
I know. That's less than an SMU game. Okay. Penn State, West Virginia. Maybe the game of the week in some ways.
10.
Love it.
10. I'm so excited about this game. As a matter of fact, last night, Amanda and I were talking about how the weekend's going to flow. Our pregame show, which will now be 9 to 10:30 every week.
So glad.
We're so excited about it. Means that I have flexibility. We have flexibility on a Saturday. And she's like, well, what does this mean for me? What games do you want to watch? I'm like, I really want to watch that one. But if we have to run errands during a time, that's probably going to be it. Or going to be like, no, we're good. So but I the fact that I'm probably going to miss at least 40 minutes of it. Yeah, it kind of bums me out because that's a 10.
It's going to be fun, man. That'll be a good ball game. A little bit of an off the beaten path Big 12 matchup. UNLV and Houston.
I'll give that one a 6. I'm very intrigued by Willie Fritz. Barry Odom's done a great job at UNLV. They both have they have a new quarterback. And then, but their quarterback they got transferred in is one heck of an athlete at UNLV. So he'll be interesting to watch. And Donovan Smith is getting some hype from NFL people, which I'm not sure if they've watched all of his film yet or if they just watched the good parts.
Yeah.
The good parts are really good with Donovan Smith.
They are.
But the bad parts are real bad. Mm-hmm. So.
All right. Do you have any interest in Kalen DeBoer's debut Saturday night against Western Kentucky?
I have no. That's a 1.
Okay.
I do love the Hilltoppers, though. I do love the Hilltoppers. And look, the Hilltoppers are going to score some points for sure. I mean, most games, but probably not against Alabama.
No, TJ Finley's already ran his course in the SEC, and it did not go well. I think that's going to be ugly.
But he's older now.
I don't care. He's
he's well traveled.
Yeah, he's learned so much through the years.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some of these ranked matchups.
He's gotten a chance to get STDs at 4 different places.
It's been at multiple health centers around the country.
Yeah, look, I'm not just talking about you, Texas State, but I'm talking about you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think people are going to say Marcus just for the river.
Look, here's the thing. He was in Baton Rouge and Auburn too. This guy is no stranger to his crab scare. I'll tell you that right now.
Colorado State and Texas, Paul.
I don't know. 3. I mean, yeah, Texas have some fun things going on, but this isn't like when they played Louisiana a couple years ago where Billy Napier had a really good team and you're like, all right, I bet you they can go on. And they did. They
played them tough, yeah.
They kind of withstood some of the onslaught for a little while and put a scare into Texas, but Do
you have any questions about the Horns? I mean, not that they are unbeatable or anything. But
I wonder about their continuity. You know, they lost they've lost it. Like there's a lot of guys who are not now. Quinn Ewers like kind of makes it all better, and they've replaced a lot better. But if you look at like the same thing with Florida State last week that I had the questions of, now they've replaced better. Like getting Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden and guys like that, it's better than what FSU did. There's no doubt about that. But again, how do those guys work within the system?
Right.
I don't think that's something we're going to necessarily see early on. But look, CJ Baxter is out for the year. Now, look, Jaden Blue's fantastic. That should probably be fine. But they're in a situation now where Jaden Blue cannot miss much time at all, because if that happens, then you're like getting down the line of inexperienced guys. And while they're athletic, you know, but Texas's O-line should be really good. Ewers should be even better. But no Worthy, no Jonathan Brooks, no A.D. Mitchell, and no Jatavian Sanders. There's going to be some differences. There's like, they got good players, but will those guys be as good as the guys they're replacing? That's my only wonder. Plus, I can tell you this. Their defense will probably still be good. It will not be as good as it was last year, Sweat and Murphy.
Yeah, you can't replace that. And
no
Jalen
way.
Ford.
You cannot. No team in the country ever replaces that. Like, even teams that have won national championships, like close,
can't.
When you lose defensive tackles, two like that, you just don't replace it. You have to, like, adjust, you know, because there'll be Texas fans like, well, why are we giving up more yards in the run game this year? Because you don't have
two monsters.
You don't have these two, like,
it's like
10-year pros
pounds,
that are going to be in the NFL. Like, you don't have those guys. Like, they're good, but, like, you know, sometimes you get generational talent, and I think those guys are generational talent, especially together. Like, those two guys, as good as they were at the same time, the same class year, the same all that, came up together. It just does not happen that often for anybody.
Sunday night, USC and LSU.
Oh, this is about a 9 to me. I'm like, you know, like the only reason it's about and look, I'm not, the only reason it's about a 10 is it's Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley. Like, Lincoln Riley should get me excited about this, but the last couple years of, you know, I'm enthused about watching USC only slightly more than I am about eating his brisket. You know, like it's not, and Brian Kelly just, I don't know. I guess I long for the wild ass days of Edo.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Like that's what it is. Like,
it does feel like they brought in a substitute teacher.
Yeah. Okay. Urban Meyer had more success at Florida than Steve Spurrier did. And this is not one of my knocks on Urban Meyer, who's a thief and a liar. And, I'm just very angry about this podcast thing. But I enjoyed the Spurrier era more, even as a person who hates them, because he was fun. There's nothing fun about Urban Meyer, which is why I don't understand why people want him on television. Like, if he's going to be your Lee Corso, no, Lee Corso's fun, man. You know, the only time we caught Urban Meyer having fun, he got in a shitload of trouble about it. So,
all right, the Paul Catalina Hate Bowl, Miami and Florida.
It's a 9. I mean, I'll watch it. I mean, it's a 9. I wish both teams were better. I really do. I wish this was 1994.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great. But, you know, like me and my Kathy Ireland poster can't watch this game that way. So, I'm gonna give it a 9.
Defending champs Michigan against Fresno State Saturday night.
2. I mean, like I actually have a lot of respect for Fresno State. They're always kind of a good, like, coach to coach. Salty team, good program. Usually fun to watch, especially when they're on late at night. But I don't know. Other than watching Alex Orgy, out there, which I'm still surprised it's not Orgi. Like, why would you? I mean, you have the opportunity.
Yeah, if there's a gray area there, why not?
If you're in your second grade and it's like Alex Orgy, and it's like, no, it's Orgi. And then you just knock it down there. But, I mean, just me as an immature 44-year-old man, comedian, I've already written, like, you know, there was an orgy of touchdowns or an orgy of interceptions. I mean, it writes itself. It's,
It does. All right, final two here. Clemson and Georgia.
8. If Clemson was classic Clemson, then yes, but Somebody's stuck in the mud in South Carolina, and he's going to find out, like, it's not like, the team you have to, like, the teams that are competing against you are using this weapon, and you are continually walking in. Like, he's still firing a musket and being like, listen, if I'm accurate, it doesn't matter. And they're like, yeah, we have drones. So hope you get the drone, and this is a big season for Garrett Riley, because Garrett Riley, was supposed to go in there and help that offense, and DJU notwithstanding, like, Garrett Riley didn't play any better than DJU did the year before.
Yeah.
I think he gets a pass because they're not giving him the weapons to work with.
No, and that's true. But, like, so my thing is like, DJU is who he is. Garrett Riley is who he is. But nobody has ever really given them, like, the weapons that they should have. And, they've not been playing with the full deck that they should have been. So,
all right, and then we'll close with A&M and Notre Dame, Paul.
Oh, that's a 10. That's a 10. This is a bit of this is a fun little, like, every decade they kind of do a home and home with each other. Yeah. Now, I mean, it started, like, I was at the very first game they played against each other, which was the 1988 Cotton Bowl, and A&M won. I remember it vividly. It was very cold. I was 8 years old, or I was 7 going on 8. I probably complained for about the first hour of, like, can we go home? No. We are watching this game. But yeah, I had a blast at that game. That's where, like, that's kind of where my love for football, like, caught hold, because it was such a fun game. And, like, we were living in Bossier City, so we, like, got back and, like, go to the Catholic church, and like, all the, Notre Dame people are like, oh, well, you got us. And my dad's like, yeah, we did. It was like a big deal. That was the first time they played. Then they played 2 other Cotton Bowls after that. Notre Dame won those next 2. And then they just kind of kept playing and rotating. I don't know if A&M's won other than one other time against them. It might be mostly Notre Dame. I got to check Wikipedia on that. But it's always been kind of a cool thing when they do, so.
Yeah, it should be fun. I mean, it's going to be a great atmosphere and new era of Aggie football. Like, Mike Elko, not exactly the most charismatic guy, but it'll be weird not seeing Jimbo on the sideline there and kind of seeing what they're identity
3-2. They've only played 5 times. So
okay,
yeah. So they do this once in a while. I wish it was something they do more often. I think A&M, like, Notre Dame needs to play more games, in my opinion, down in Texas. They need to do more home and homes with teams in Texas, and I think A&M is the better situation for them. And I think going into Austin, like, I mean, they did that a couple years ago, I remember, like, Texas is back was against a very bad Notre Dame team.
Oh, yeah, Tyrone Swoop's touchdown. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the Texas is back game was against Notre Dame. So I think they need to do that more. That, like, they're never going to come and play TCU or Baylor. Or, I mean, SMU might be able to be like, look, we'll make it. We're in the ACC together. You got to. Well, they will. They'll have to do that.
Yeah, they're going to have
partnership.
To
so they'll be in SMU if that stays the same. Who the hell knows?
Right.
But yeah, I think they need to. I think that, look, I would love to see Notre Dame go to Lubbock.
Oof.
I would love that.
Get tortillas thrown at them.
Yeah. They don't do that anymore, I've been told. I'm going to my first game in Lubbock this year. We're going to go to the Texas Tech
you're going to
game.
find out then.
And I just feel like maybe just for I'd like to,
Yeah, Tech fans get very defensive. Like, they have a reputation for being like this raucous fan base.
And then
you talk about it and they're like, no, we don't do that. It's like, yeah, you do.
I want you to. I'm fine with it.
I'm not complaining about it. It's just like,
I've been hit with worse things than a tortilla. I mean, sure. If you wrap it in foil and put some, like, meat and cheese in it,
pick it up and eat it.
Like, toss it down to me nicely. Like, I'll even like that more. But no. Yeah. I think that was a phenomenon. No more couch burning, no more tortilla throwing.
We're losing our country.
Yeah. West Virginia, told me they don't burn couches anymore, and I thought, well, I mean, that's like
what are y'all doing then?
Yeah. It's like the McDonald's ice cream machine of college football traditions now. I'm just a little disappointed that, like, if I went to Morgantown, they had a big win that, they the couches are all safe.
Somebody should bring that back this weekend if they pull it off.
I'm telling you,
They
yes,
need to.
I see it. We said it. Like, look, I think they should have, especially the mayor of Morgantown, Ren Baker, who's going to be on the show today. He already talks to Smokey. Should have an edict and be like, 4 wins against teams from the Power 2. We decree that you may burn 3 couches here in the town square.
Get them all set up. Yeah.
Yeah. This year's couches are donated by McGinty's Furniture. McGinty's. It's good enough to burn.
Flammable couches. Yeah.
So, well, Steven, thank you so much. Enjoy the TCU game tomorrow night.
Ready
I hope
for it.
we're talking next Wednesday to a happy Steven. I don't want anybody outside of Gainesville and Miami and a couple other places that shall remain nameless right now because I don't need to make any more enemies to feel the kind of sadness that I felt this weekend.
That's good. That's good, Paul.
Ever just float in a pool after your team loses and drink a White Claw and think, what is life?
Why am I doing this?
That was my 2:30 in the afternoon last Saturday. Just having a White Claw and thinking,
What am I doing?
what's the world?
Yeah.
What is the meaning of life? Does it have a meaning? Do we have purpose? Are we just part of the simulation?
They'll talk about that in the big show next.
What we're going to get into is, if you're in the simulation, would you like to be out of the simulation, or would you rather just be robot fuel? I think I'd rather be robot fuel.
Important questions.
Look, here's the thing. I'm on the side of like, make me a zombie in the zombie apocalypse. And look, if we're in the Matrix, leave me in the goo, because the goo people have it much better than riding on these ships underground, trying to fight robots. That seems like a lot to me.
It does.
Yeah. So just put me in the goo and let me think I'm eating a cheeseburger. Fine. Good. I'm good. That's going to do it for us. We got Sam Conn, we got Max Olson, we've got Matt Brown, and we have Ren Baker today and Craig Smokes off the radar. And my top 5. Have a great football weekend, everybody.